recording. Let's see how this works. Seems to be in the green. So stream should be live. I'm gonna post the announcements. Hello. Do we have anyone in the
Hello.
stream? I'm just posting the announcements now. Office hours. Person to enter. There we go. This one's posted. Live stream's gonna ping one there. There we go. I'm still have the warning with the bad internet because opening issues. Hello. And I was gonna post one on the blue sky. Oop, got somebody post. There we go. And I'm gonna switch back to Discord for questions. Actually, I don't even need to be brought them in.
They'll be in top down, left, right order.
Yeah. Top down. Hello everyone. We have people popping up in the stream. Hello Lexavo, hello Ace, hello Grand, and sorry. Oh my god, we got 2 Schnuppets now. So Grand and the Redneck are both doing Schnuppet. Well, the Redneck was, you don't have a question mark, so yours doesn't count.
Yep, you don't get a Schnuppet, sorry.
Yes, you don't get a Schnuppet. Grand is a seasoned Schnuppet tier.
Schnuppetier.
It's a Schnuppetier. Grand, you're a Schnuppetier. No, hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to like another Resonance stream. Are we going through okay? Are audio okay? Is the video okay? I've been having a bunch of internet issues like recently, so like I'm actually going through Proton VPN right now because streaming directly for some reason just doesn't work. But when I go through Proton, like it's fine. But when I stream directly, the bandwidth goes to like 100 kilobits. Ooh, oh, it's changing. That is quick.
That's Eclipse.
Oh, what? It just eclipsed. Oh my god, I need to show that.
We got eclipsed.
We got an eclipse, yeah. We're in this cool world, the post-apocalyptic world. The Heights of Comfort, one of the MMC worlds. There's actually credits right there, so I can show you the credits very quick. I got Firefly, I got Zendi, I got Reeden. Definitely recommend check. Oh, what? Oh, okay. Now it's back to normal. That was
thank
quick.
you BD underscore for
Thank you BD underscore.
Prime.
Yay. Yes, this is a cool world. The world represents the state of the internet right now. Like, my internet issues, so that's kind of fitting. It's like a post-apocalyptic internet. Anyway, I'm Froox, I'm here with Cyro, and we'll be answering like any questions you might have about Resonite, its theme, its past and future, and like, I don't even like if you want to ask some casual questions, you can as well. So feel free to like ask anything. Make sure if you ask a question, put a question mark at the end. That way it kind of pops on our thing over here. You can already see like we got a few here. There's like the ones from Discord. We're gonna be answering those in a second. So we can get started. And also like if things still seem to be stable, so I think we should be able to run for the full like 2 hours. But in case things start going weird, like we'll try power through it, but like it's possible if things explode, like we might need to end it early, so just a heads up.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, I'm not jinxing it. We'll see. Seems fine here. Also, hello Kite VR. This is the first time here. You get to be on the stream. Look. Hello. First time.
There you are.
There you are.
Everyone,
too.
Give them a super duper extra welcome 9001.
Super welcome. Get super welcomed. Anyway, we should get started. We have a bunch of questions popping up in the Discord. We're gonna go through the in the Twitch. We got one from Discord, so we're gonna go through these first. Just adjust position, and we should be getting started. So this is the first one, I think. So BD. Position it. I'm gonna put it. There we go. I'm gonna cover it. There we go. I need a copy for myself. BD is asking, the question around DMCA handling from the prior resonance got me curious. Right now, if you go DMCA claim that asset X is not authorized for use in a particular world or as a saved inventory item, but is licensed for a specific other world, do you have any mechanism for restricting that asset to authorized worlds, or that is entirely dependent on the upcoming licensing system? Yeah, that's dependent on the licensing system. If you file actual DMC claim, that's gonna be very black and white. Essentially, like we'll have to like prevent that asset from being used on the platform completely, which means like even you cannot use it. It's like a full takedown. So we generally don't actually recommend doing that, but also like because there's also like paperwork and we actually need to put like your real name and address and other stuff for the process. So it's quite involved and it's very, what's the word for like lacking nuance? Um,
Shallow?
Not quite shallow. It's very, well, since we're in this world, it's very nuclear. So like it's like the nuclear option. What I recommend is making a support record. What we can do is we can, investigate where the asset is used and we can delete some instances of it. So like we do have some tools to kind of handle like situations like that. We can, like just snipe out like specific copies. What the licensing system will allow, it'll make it easier, to like automatically kind of manage where it can be used and where it cannot be used and sort of like track that kind of usage. So that's gonna make those things like a lot simpler, but if needed we can deal with the situations. We recommend like going for support record first, because if you use our systems for it, like and the tools we have a lot more nuance in how we can handle those kind of scenarios versus the DMCA, like I said, it's gonna be that's the nuclear option. Next question. I'm gonna also make a copy for myself. Next question is from Mintshock. Make it smaller so you can see it fine. Mintrock is asking, do you have any plans or opinions on adding spline tool to Resonite? I think being able to intuitively edit spline paths in 3D space would be a great tool to have. This would, for example, be really great for virtual productions, video content, animating stuff on the path. Yes, exactly. That's actually one of the things. So, one of the things I really want to add to Resonite, I really like generalizing systems. And I want to add a system where it's an interface where you essentially provide sort of a time, time point, and it gives you a position, an option like a normal or orientation. And you can have a bunch of systems that plug into this, and that sort of interface with each other. So you can have systems that for example, positions objects along, some kind of path. And we can build lots of different systems, and we have systems which provide the positions, which could be a spline. That's I think the most obvious one. There could be other ones as well. You could pretty much plug whatever algorithm you want, and it could work with lots of different systems. You could position camera, so you have camera kind of going around, or you could have objects move around and animate them around the world. You could have particles follow a path. You could have what's the word? The brushes, kind of interact with it. If you want to make a spline and you don't want to brush around it. So I would like to make systems that where lots of different systems have this interface, and that's the common path where you can interact with each other. And the camera stuff that would be really great for video streaming. So, and having a nice editor, so we're actually working on some in-game spline tools, so there's a lot of flexibility what you can do. Actually, would you want to showcase it maybe?
Yeah, I can show it. I was thinking about it. Let me grab it out. It's not like you can't create new ones with it, but it is cool to look at still.
Yeah, I think we can showcase it just to show even what kind of stuff we can build in-game with existing tools.
Yeah. Let me see here. Boop-a-doop-doo. Oh, there it is.
Ooh, there we go. Ooh,
Grab it.
look at that.
Where is there's a whoops. There's a ball.
Yay.
Huh.
It's super neat.
Yes.
And this is all built with protoflex. This is what you can do in games. You can already make your own systems. And it's kind of a big part of what the Resonite is about is you're making just the camera so you get better context. You get like a lot of power and flexibility in what you can build. Like Protopax like is pretty much like a fully fledged like Turing complete language, so you can do things. One of the benefits of doing this, officially is like it gives much better kind of integration with different tools. We can make like the official tool sort of like work with it, and also for anybody building content, it sort of provides like sort of like a framework to build more things and have existing systems interact with that. Versus like if you build something on your own, it might not be as well like integrated with as many systems, but if you do need like you could make a thing, put like a camera anchor on this and sample it along the line. So you could, before we add like those systems officially, you could like make your own version.
Yeah.
But yes, it's definitely something I would love to be added like at some point in the future. I think it's gonna be very powerful.
Note that you'll have to parameterize the curve yourself right now. That's actually the thing about this one. You can see all the points are moving at a constant speed and spaced evenly across the curve, which is something pretty cool.
Yeah. Anyway, hope that answers that question.
Yes, I'm actually gonna remove this. It's a little heavy.
Next question is from BD underscore. I'm just gonna make a copy for myself so I can read it out easily. This position here. For the upcoming license system, how are you thinking about handling assets sold outside of Resonite that people already own licenses to? For example, boot models, or in case of assets where someone claims ownership of, say, CC0 asset. So, if the asset is already sold...
Oh, looks like your mic died.
Hello? Test 1, 2, can you hear me?
Whoa.
Yeah, my microphone shut down for some reason. It likes to do that sometimes, unfortunately. Can you hear me fine now?
Yes.
Let me double check. Yeah, it should be going okay. Sorry for that. It's actually not Steam Audio. I'm using Mod Mic that's kind of plugged directly. It just shut down. Anyway, so I'm just gonna like reread the question. BD's asking, with the upcoming license system, how are you thinking about handling assets sold outside of Resonite that people already own licenses to, for example, boot models, or in the case of assets where someone claims ownership of, say, CC0 asset? So there's like a few things in that question, but like one of the things, that the system will be able to do is you'll be able to say, this asset is licensed this way. And if somebody abuses that and says, it's licensed this way, you can, like, we want to have a system where you can provide, like, you can dispute it, and you can also provide evidence saying this is the source of the asset, and here's the license for it. So that way we can go and we can check. So, for example, somebody says, like, I'm selling this asset that's, that it's, like, technically CC0, and like I'm claiming it as my own, that I have created it, and it's dark again. I'm claiming it as my own, that I've created this asset, and somebody puts that into the system, and then somebody comes like, but I got this asset from this website, it's like CC0, so you dispute it, and you send us a link, like, for example, here's the asset, and like here's the original source of it, and we can look at it and be like, okay, this is credible source, this asset is actually CC0, this person has misrepresented the asset, so we're gonna, change it. We're gonna solve the dispute by saying, no, this is CC0, anyone can use it, and probably some bad things will happen to, to somebody who abused the system. That way, like, we kind of discourage people from doing that. And in general, like, when you do bring an asset and you say it has this license, we'll probably ask you provide, something, like some link or some website or something that, like, is a good evidence of the licensing of the asset. That way, like, everything's kind of trackable, and we can, and if there's any dispute, we can kind of figure things out. And the same thing, like if the asset is already sold outside and the creator hasn't registered that asset with Resonite, um, you'll be able to say, I got this asset from this thing. I don't. You'll essentially say, I don't own the asset. I haven't. Well, I'm saying it wrong. You'll say, I haven't made the asset. I own a license to it, and I got a license, from here. And the system, we want to make it in a way where, it's gonna be able to accept that. So it's like, we don't want it to be like too harsh, where it's like, kind of harsh to put things in, but you'll be able to say, I got it from here. And then maybe the creator, they can be like, I want the person who actually made the asset and who decides how it's licensed, they might come in and they'll be like, I'm the author of this asset, it needs to be licensed this way, and I want people to prove ownership like, this way. Maybe like they have a code for Gumroad, maybe I just want them to like be, upload the file, and we do a hash, we'll be like, okay, you have the file, so we assume you own the license to it. Like, we want to provide like multiple ways and make it kind of easy enough for people to bring the stuff in. And if there's like, any misuse, like we want to have a dispute system so you can say, no, this is actually marked incorrectly. Somebody's claiming asset that like, they haven't made. And then we can kind of deal with that. I hope that kind of answers that one. Next question's from Mint Shock. They're asking, would you ever consider selling Resonite? Selling the whole company YDMS? I'll say probably not. We kind of structure the company to like make it hard as well. So the way like it kind of works is like we have like 3 types of shares, and there's like a share like type of share which has I think it's like 11 times like voting power. Um, and I essentially own majority of those shares, which means like I'm pretty much control the company. And what it does, it kind of allows us to potentially take some like investment, like for example, like an angel investor, like get some funding to kind of help the project, but they wouldn't be getting those voting shares. Those like the ones we keep, they would be getting like shares that give them rights to like a dividend. Um, so sort of like get paid from the profits from a company, but it wouldn't let them control the company. Like they would essentially not really have like any say in how we do stuff, and we specifically kind of structure it that way. So it's sort of like a kind of good middle ground, like um, because like selling company is like you essentially sell all your shares. Like you pretty much give everyone all the shares. And for me to like sell the company, I would have to sell all of the shares like that have voting power, so somebody else gets the control of the company. And we specifically structured it this way because I really don't want to have somebody else get the, control of the company. Because one of the things I've noticed with a lot of projects, a lot of projects I really liked, for example, Unity or like even recently Discord, is you get like, a really passionate team, they have like a really good vision for something, they build something cool, but then they sell too many shares, they lose control of the company, then the leadership gets replaced, and like instead of focusing on making a good product, they focus more how do we make money to shareholders, how do we maximize profits, and the product itself starts getting worse and worse because now its main goal isn't making a cool thing, which the original founders, that might have been their motivation. The motivation of the people who bought it, like, is more like how do we increase the profits? How do we maximize, revenue coming from this? And that's something I don't want to happen to Resonite because I think, I feel like a lot of projects, like, they cannot die this way. Like, it doesn't happen instantly, which is one of the reasons they do it, because they know, even though they make decisions that people don't like, every project has large amount of momentum to it. Like you have like if you have like big user base, it's hard for those users to move because if you want to move to something else, then you need all your friends to move as well, and that sort of creates like friction to switching to something else. So people are sort of forced to put up with whatever decisions the company is making, and that's how they kind of squeeze more money out of it. And people will keep like moving like slowly, but it's just gradual, and it kind of gives them enough time to like squeeze loads of profits. And eventually, the project die, but like the people also don't care as much because they'll move to be CEO of a different company and do the same thing to it. And there's like one thing I really don't want happen to Resonite, because for me, Resonite, it's something I always wanted to build. It's sort of like a culmination of all my kind of like work, like it's like I take all the cool things I want to work on and smoosh this into this big ball that's kind of has everything, where everything I build is part of this shared universe and enhances the universe. And I want to keep doing that for as long as I can. Um, and it's kind of, why we kind of structure the company that way, so like I can kind of regain the control of it, or retain the control of it. So I would say it's very kind of unlikely. We've already kind of had like situations like where um, either like there was a possibility of like selling the company or something, and we pretty much like well like we don't want it to happen. So like I, I don't know like what would have to happen for me to like like want to like sell it. Like there are times like where I'm like I kind of don't want to like like kind of get like frustrated with some things, but like ultimately like I don't want to give Resonite away. Like I want to keep working on it. I don't really know what else I'd be doing, otherwise. So yeah, it's pretty much like a long-winded way of saying no. And it's always like like I'm the kind of person like where I don't ever want to say like never for things because like lots of things can change, but like I think the probability of things changing where I would want to sell it is like very low. Like right now I don't even know what things would have that had happened. And we went through some things that like in the past that would have like killed like I feel like 99% of projects and companies, and we pulled through because of our dedication, to this project and to this community. And if that like didn't kill it, I don't know what would.
Like the sun would have to explode, basically.
Kinda, we have to be something on that level probably. Like maybe like if I like I don't know like if I got like super sick and I was just not able to like work anymore on things, or I don't know, but it would have to be something like that. But maybe even then, I would be like, like maybe I still wanna like keep it so I can like, set a direction to it, even if I'm not able to work on it as much, but I don't know. It's very unlikely. Um, like, the next question is also from Minchok. Minchuk is asking, are there statistics about where users are roughly located? It would be interesting to know the ratio of EU, America, maybe even by country, users. Yeah, we actually do have Steam stats. I don't have them at hand. I would have to... Actually, if you give me a second, I can pull them up. Let's see. This is the magic of real-time importing. I can tell you from memory, US is definitely our biggest one. Oh, actually, this might be tricky because I might need to log in. Am I still logged in? Nope, I'm logged in. Let's see if I can pull them up. Steam actually has like statistics on like where the distribution of things is. Activations report. Let's see. Let's do list last year. Regional. Where's the graphs? There we go. So let me just do this. There we go. I'm gonna pull this in. Controller. It's being dumb. Come on.
I believe in you. Man, I love the optical controller tracking on those.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. Let's move this out of the way. So you can see, The biggest is like from North America. It's like almost half is from United States. The second biggest is like Japan. We got like Germany, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, Netherlands, Poland, Russian Federation, interestingly, France, Brazil, Sweden, Finland, New Zealand, Denmark, Switzerland. It's like it's kind of going down. And there's a bunch of others. I didn't like bring the whole thing.
0.5
But
from
yeah,
the Czech Republic.
yeah, there's like a few from Czech probably. I wonder how much of that is me. And we got a few Czech users. Actually, no, that's I think a lot of the Czech Republic ones are the university because
Oh yeah.
I know like the university guy Peck, like he uses Resonite to teach VR courses, so I think that's responsible for a good chunk of that stat. But yeah, this is the stats.
Hmm.
Oh, I don't got Schnappet here. I didn't get into Schnappet yet. The next question's from Triple Helix. Let me just make a copy for myself. Ooh, that's a big one. Let me make it smaller. Hope you can still read it on the stream. Triple Helix asking, sorry in advance, this is a long one. I know ways off, but I have a question about the domain system, more specifically about hosting in that environment. One of the examples you gave was Galaxy with layers like nested worlds, Galaxy Star System Planet House. So how would hosting something like that work exactly? That's allowed for just one person, so would we have to run a full-on web server for hosting a website, or what have some kind of hosting by then? And could multiple users share that galaxy hosting their own planets or whatever, or would it be locked to a single user account much like hosting Word or Headless is now? I'm really excited for the system and actually have a lot more questions about it, but I'll leave it there for now. So this is actually one of the things like we did talk about the video specifically for domain systems, because domain is essentially what a session is. So like each sort of domain that it can be is its own session, it's its own node. And what that system allows is, for multiple sort of sessions to be spatially related to each other. Oh, sorry, headset died. For multiple, oh, it's dying again. Oh, jeez. Sorry, I'm using Quest with streaming, and the network has been buggy. The session, each session, like right now, like each session is essentially separate. Oh, it keeps dying. Oh no. Okay, I'm good now, I think. Sorry. Each session, it's its own thing. It's its own world. It's kind of disconnected from all others. What the domain system allowed to do... Dying again. What the domain system allowed to do is, place them next to each other. So you can actually have like a session that's hosted on one computer, be physically, in the virtual world, be physically connected to a session that's hosted on a different computer. So for example, if you take like a grid-based system, for example, each cell of that grid is like its own host. And what the domain system does, it like gives a way for things to transition between them. So you can like, move stuff from one session to another seamlessly, and to like, have them be displayed next to each other. So like, that's already kind of like built into the system. And it would probably provide like, tooling, so you can kind of host this on your own, but you would probably have to like, set up infrastructure, maybe something that spins servers up and down, because like it'll need orchestration. Like if you have a big grid, say you have like, and I'm using grid as an example, it can be, more than a grid, it can be like, the space, but say you have like a big grid and have like lots of cells, so you have people here, and then I have a bunch of people here, you don't need to be simulating over here. This can be like, put to sleep. So say you have like a pool of servers, in your... So these are like the servers, so maybe this one's simulating this one's simulating that, and then like somebody moves over here. So like it picks up a server, it loads this chunk or this like cell, it picks up a server and hosts that session, and once the user leaves, it puts it back to sleep, so it's not wasting resources on it. And it would kind of happen the same, for it would happen same, if it's like the universe, like if it's like a planet, like, maybe there's like a server that's hosting that one, that's hosting like the whole planet, and maybe there's another server that's hosting a smaller session, like, like a house that's on that planet. And you could also like, mix it as long as, the hosts agree to put like one session inside another, you could have like a system where like say the planetary system that's hosted like official Resonite infrastructure, but maybe the individual houses that are there are hosted by individual people. So each of those like domains, it's its own host, and they don't need to be the same host. It's sort of like, think of the domain system as a way for sessions to interoperate. And it's going to be systems to like also automatically spin them up and spin them down, as people kind of move around. But effectively, it is like a system for session interop. So I hope this kind of answers, that question. The next question is from Colin the Cat. Colin the Cat is asking, why is the binding delay of Dinwar sometimes 3 ticks, sometimes less, sometimes more? So it's probably gonna depend like where they happen in the update loop. I don't actually know if I've heard of cases where it's more than 3 ticks. If the delay happens, you should report it, because we can add things to make sure the registration happens right away. But typically, the dynamic vars, the system needs to run a function to do the binding. And oftentimes the function, it's always gonna happen when something changes. But the update system, it sort of pools the changes. It just says, okay, this object changed, and then it waits for the next, update cycle for that change, to be processed. So for example, if something, if you have a something that triggers on a change, and that changes the binding, the system will be, okay, I have changed, but maybe it already lost its opportunity to run in that update cycle. Or maybe it happens, in an update cycle that runs after all the changes are processed, so it needs to wait until the next frame. And maybe then we have another system, that also is delayed. So like it can be lots of reasons. It just kind of depends, where it ends up on the timeline. And usually the way we fix it is like for specific circumstances, or for example, when it ends up being duplicated, we essentially we force that change to happen instantly. Which there's some overhead to it, because like it needs to perform work that might be, unnecessary. But it kind of helps like make the binding a little bit tighter. So it kind of depends case by case. There's not like really like the general answer is like it just happens where it happens in the update cycle. Like if it happens in front or behind some other things that trigger the change. The next question's from Ozzy. Ozzy is asking, what is an interesting unitism you had to work around recently, or one you want to talk about? Interesting isn't the word I'd use. The one that's like on top of my mind, because I'm working on audio, there's a bug. Well, it's not a bug, it's a difference. It's like some sounds, for some reason, sound sharper with audio than they do with the Unity system, and like I just straight up don't know why. It seems there's something, it's something to do with spatialization, where spatialized sounds, like their frequency spectrum is different between Unity and audio. And we're using Steam Audio directly with audio. We're just giving audio buffer, be like, please spatialize this, and we're not really doing like much else. And it seems like Unity is like either doing some extra processing, or maybe it's using Steam Audio differently. But like, you just straight up don't know what it is, because it's kind of a black box in a way. And like right now it's in a stage where it's like, okay, this is just gonna unfortunately gonna be the difference between the systems, because we don't know what could be causing it. So we can't really do much to replicate it. So it's not really interesting in a way, it's more like annoying, because it's like I would like to understand why it happens, but everything I tried doesn't seem to make a difference. We're thinking maybe it has something to do with the audio being mono, but stereo versus mono, but it makes no difference. Maybe there's some computations wrong with the fall off, but that's the same. So it's like the difference coming from somewhere and we don't know where. And some stuff in Unity it's kind of black box, so it's kind of hard to do much with. Um, let's see. Ooh. Oh no, I think the stream is dying.
Oh dear.
Yeah, stream is dying. Why is it? Give me a second. Yeah, the internet's been problematic lately. I'm
Yeah.
still connected through Proton. I'm also
Oh dear.
recording this like locally, so this kind of helps, but
Yeah, there will be a VOD at the very least.
yeah, if this yeah, this is unfortunate.
Hmm.
It's going like up and down, which is weird. Yeah, there's like it's been a problem with the internet like lately, like I haven't been able to. Yeah, this is a bit what it was. And turns out like I end up like jinxing it.
Oh no, you didn't knock on wood.
My desk is plastic. Um,
You didn't knock on plastic.
how's stuff right now? It's still showing. That's weird. It's like going. It's going like from 6. Now it's going 7 megabit, 8 megabit. I wonder if it's catching up. I could try like shutting the stream down and then like disabling some of the streaming settings. So like if you're okay with me doing that.
I think they might be like
Necessary.
dead.
The sounds came from inside Unity. I don't know how.
I don't
Can
know
you
what
hear
that
me
means.
fine now? Yeah, this is it's in the red. So like I think I probably need to restart the stream.
Yeah. Stand by, fellas.
Yeah, stand by. So stopping stream. Oh, this is taking a while to stop. Yeah, it's dropping like 23 frames. Okay, it stopped streaming. I'm gonna stream Twitch. Maximum video bitrate. How do I don't want to do multi-track video. Output streaming. I'm gonna lower this. Stream. Can I change the... I'm gonna try lowering the bandwidth. Stream. I can't like change the thing. Encoder. Video. Can't. Oh, right, it's because it's recording. Apply. Start streaming. Let's try it again. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, it's green now. I've lowered the bitrate, so this is probably gonna be worse quality. I'm still recording it, so like the VOD should be good quality. Yeah, it's in green now. So hopefully this helps. Hello, can you...
Yeah.
Oh, there's ads running.
Yay, ads.
Hello, everyone, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me fine? Yeah, internet... Oh, glitch, yeah, internet's poopy. It seems to be running
Yeah.
fine. I'm running it at 1.5 megabit right now. So as long as the audio's okay, like I think the video can be a bit mushy. We should be able to get through things. If the issues continue, we might need to end this early, unfortunately. The internet's been having issues.
Yeah.
We got one more question from the Discord. This is from BD underscore. BD underscore is asking, I noticed that Resonite records have a version field. While there's no UI for this currently, does that mean it's possible to in-place update inventory record using additional internal Froox engine, Froox engine, Skyfrost APIs? If so, how stable or unstable should this function to be considered? Yeah, you can update it in place. I mean, that's kind of how worlds update. So records are way things are stored on Resonite's cloud. And the system, it works the same for items and worlds. Worlds currently let you update things in place. Items in inventory do not. But it's just a matter of UI. So like you can update things in place if you really want to. So, and it should be pretty stable as long as you're using the system's mechanisms to like update the versions, because if you like try to fill those versions yourself, the cloud might reject it. And it's gonna be like this is invalid. Usually the upload system, it takes care of like, incrementing those versions. So with that, we are through the questions on these questions from Discord, so we should be able to get through questions from Twitch now. So, and of course, the first one we got is from Grand UK asking Schnoppit. I actually have a Schnoppit now. One of the things that like bugs me a bit, like, is like when people make assumptions about, something we're gonna do, and then they like argue based on that assumption, even though like we never said we're gonna do the thing. And it kind of makes the conversation like really weird, because it's like, it's like there's a argument that just came out of nowhere. Like we never said we're gonna do this thing, but now we're put in a position where we have to like defend against it. But like, how do we defend it? Because we're like, we don't even, like, we had no plans to do this kind of thing. And it just kind of makes the conversation a little weird. And like, what I would really wish is for people to just kind of like, ask first, or actually see like, what we say in the official sources. Because the other thing that happens is like, people will look like a title of a video, and they will like, argue things or say things that are actually addressed in the video. And it kind of makes me feel like I'm like, I feel like we haven't even watched the video, because like, you're saying things that we talk about, and like you're saying like that we're gonna do things that we even said we're planning not to do in the video. Or you're saying like, like, oh, like, why don't we just do this? And it's literally, and in the video we are like saying that we're gonna do that thing, and it just makes it odd. So it's like, try to like, look like what we actually say. If we haven't said we're gonna do a thing, don't assume we're gonna do the thing. Maybe ask first. Be like, are we gonna approach it this way? Are we gonna approach it this way? But when the conversation kind of starts, like where you make assumption that we're gonna do certain thing, and you start arguing from that like position, it makes it really weird, because it's like essentially it's like a straw man, like form of a straw man argument, like where you make up like, a position like that, like we don't necessarily hold, and they argue against it, and it's kind of weird. Alright, that's my
I ha-
schnoppet. Do you have a
I have a
schnoppet too?
small schnoppet. It's less of like an annoyed schnoppet and more of like a sometimes it makes me sad schnoppet. Um I've seen comments on like Blue Sky or YouTube where like someone's like really excited about Resonite and someone else responds to them and they're like, yeah, come on, stop by, you can do XYZ. And the other person's like, oh no, sorry, I can't buy games right now.
What?
And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Resonite's free.
Yes.
It's you can just go get it. I guess people are just used to things like this being paid.
Yeah. Resonite's free. You can just take it.
You can just take it. You
You
can
can
just
just
go
take
take it
it.
right now.
Yeah, just go on Steam, take it. I actually had a person who was also like surprised, like that it's free, on the moderation stream. But it's actually another
Yeah.
example of the thing is, people don't really like it doesn't take like that long. Like it takes less than a minute, like Google Resonite and find that it's free. And that's like it is an example like where people I mean, it's a general problem. It's not even just Resonite, like where people don't look for sources of things or, search basic things and just work of assumptions. And it's kind of related to another snippet I had, where rumors spread because somebody hears something or somebody makes some assumption and they talk about it and the person assumes it's a fact and then it kind of spreads. And you usually have, rumors that just come out of nowhere. But we should get to the other questions.
Yes.
The Red Neko is asking. Actually, why am I making a copy if I don't need the extra copy? The Red Neko is asking. Hey Froox, I noticed there really hasn't been much updates to control bindings in general since Resonite released. Are you planning on redoing how the input system works, or is something eventually so it's easier to add more devices in the future? So we don't have any plans to for a big rework. The only rework would be more internal, that doesn't have to do super much with binding. Is sort of reworking the input system, which is a node-based system that we use. I would maybe want to rework it to use protoflags, so you can actually define specific behaviors with protoflags and have a visual editor for it, and then have a simpler interface where you have the inputs, which are the individual kind of keys that feed into that. So you have simple mode where you specify just which keys and buttons to use, and then if you want to change more complex behaviors, you plug things in. But it depends which input bindings you mean. We don't have if you mean change how the controls work, which button does what, we probably won't do as much. If it's more adding support for more controllers, we don't need to rework the system for that. So it kind of depends on the specific thing. And next question is from Ace on Twitch 17. They are asking, as you guys are finishing up audio with the amount of problems Unity has with Resonite, do you guys plan on switching to Source as you guys are switching to Net 9, basically both in one update, or are you guys going to switch to Net 9 then Source to separate updates? Yeah, it's not going to be one update. That's the reason. I mean, it's kind of in general. It's not even Net 9 and Source thing. Generally, we will try to split things up into phases, because if you try to do too many things at once, it just makes everything harder. It makes everything take slower because now we have tons of variables changing, and usually the way approach problems with engineering is do a small phase, test, verify, do the next phase, test, verify, do the next phase, test, verify. Because if you change, say you have a system, and you have lots of components to that system, there's lots of little bits and pieces, there's just everywhere. We have lots of systems, and these are all interacting with each other. Say you, I made this all one piece. I'm just gonna draw more pieces. Say you want to change something, it's much easier if you change this and put something else there, and now something breaks and you're okay, what change broke this whole systems? Oh, I've only changed this bit, is this bit, so I'm gonna investigate here, and I'll find, okay, like it's this part, so I'm gonna fix it up, and now it works. Now, if you wanted to change multiple bits, say like you want to rework a bunch of things, and you change, a bunch of stuff, and you replace it, with like lots of different things. Okay, oh no, my headset is dying. Everything's poopy today. There we go. Why is it dying so fast? It was like on the charger. Give me a second.
I believe in you.
I had like you cannot find the connector for request like by touch. There we go. It's really hard to find. Wow. Okay, I'm back. So you change a lot of things, at once, and now the system breaks, and now you have to figure out why did it break? Did it break because of this piece? 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 Or did it break because of how these two pieces interact with each other? Or did it break because of how this piece interacts with this and how this interacts with this? And now, you have this explosion of possible causes why things broke, and it's kind of like why it's a really bad idea to try to change too many things at once, because it makes the debugging and diagnostics much harder. It can make it exponentially worse. So in short, yes, those gonna be separate updates. Once audio is finished, gonna work on the splitting, pulling Froox engine out of Unity into its own process, but we are still gonna be using Unity for rendering for that. The plan is to replace Unity later with a different renderer. And it's gonna be its own separate thing. Oop. Sorry, I got cable now. And the cable's short. How this works. Sorry, dealing with all kinds of issues today. Next question's from Lexivo. Lexivo's asking, I'm slightly confused with how Molecule is supposed to work. I've read a GitHub issue and I was wondering, is it version control for both the Resonite client itself and Word objects you make? Yes. I mean, this kind of comes back, to the point where I really like generalizing things, because there's a lot of problems that are similar between different systems. And say you want to build like a tool, or you want to build like a framework, say like you build like an NPC system, for Resonite, or you want to build like a Protoflex library or WebAssembly library, like whatever you build, it can be very useful to have a versioning system where you can track the changes. You can have like a changelog, you can have like version resolution system. So you can, for example, say, I want this to update automatically, but only for minor versions, not for major versions. That's something that's very useful, because we will need, some kind of package manage system, or, versioning system. You deal with similar thing like a lot of Resonite's version in C# and C# and .NET, they have something called NuGet, and it's a way to distribute libraries, and also has mechanisms where you can say, I want to automatically update libraries, but only for the minor version. Major version I'll have to update explicitly. And it's a similar thing, like once people build a more complex system, like for example the NPC system, and say you use somebody's NPC system, you're building a game or world or something, you want it to be updated automatically for minor versions, but major versions, they might have breaking changes, so you don't want that update to happen. So you need that kind of functionality, and we also need it, for Resonite itself. And also it's useful to have the changelog and the other things, to be able to see the version history and stuff. So the idea is to have one system that can handle all of that for multiple different things. And then it being used for Resonite itself, for updating, that's one specific use case. And maybe there's some specifics that are built for that particular use case, but it's built around a shared core that provides the shared functionality. So yes, it's meant to be kind of both, with different systems that kind of built around that shared functionality, that shared core. Because that way, the time we invest into making the system, we get bigger benefit compared to, like, if we had to build two separate systems where both of them, like, it's like a Venn diagram almost, like, like if we build like one system and then we build another system, so we have two separate systems, and like the system does this thing and the system does this thing, and this is the same between the two, but we have to build it twice. Instead, we can just, do this. They have a shared piece, and then like each system has, like, its own specifics, and we can build like more around it, we can build more systems. So it's just kind of more efficient from development standpoint. Oh, this is the same message twice. Next question is from Grandy K. After performance and IK updates, will you start going through backlog of feature requests? And we cannot do that anyways, like for small things, like try to, like, sort of some of the smaller GitHub issues. It depends, like, specifically what do you mean backlog of feature requests, because there's, like, there's a lot of things. Like, one of the things that people want is, for example, collections for protoflags, and it's pretty high on the list, so it's one of the things, there's a contender for, like, one of the next priorities. The other is, like, stuff like reworking the IK, like reworking UI, so it depends what you mean. Like, I don't know if you mean, like, big features like that, or if you mean, like, specifically smaller features or some, like, things like that. We generally kind of deal with a lot of kind of backlog stuff, like, throughout things anyways, so, like, I haven't, like, really made, like, any specific kind of decisions, on, like, what the big priority is gonna be, but the smaller ones we kind of go through, like, sort of in parallel-ish to kind of mix things up a bit. Next question is from Epic Easton. Are you planning on making another Resonite server on other platforms? Because I'm not a fan of direction that Discord is going in. We don't have any specific plans right now, but we're kind of watching things, and at some point we might, decide, like, we want to, like, make another server, but, like, no decision has been really made yet.
I did see someone mention that it would be cool to have, like, a TeamSpeak server, which actually might be practical because they have voice and video chat now in their latest beta.
Maybe.
Or
It's
video chat and screen sharing is what I meant.
Yeah. I mean, it always depends, because, like, the thing is, like, we need something that, like, has enough popularity, because we want, like, a lot of people to use it, and it needs to be worthwhile for us to invest time into, maintaining it. Like, because, like, it takes, like, you need, like, moderation, we need, like, to actively engage with it, and it takes time, so we don't want to, like, we want to be very careful, like, what we pick for the Switch. So it depends, like, we haven't really made, like, any specific decisions, so, like, I can't really say right now. Epic Easton's also asking, wait, you're also taking questions from Discord. The questions from Discord are specifically ones that are asked in advance. We recommend for people who are not able to, like, participate in the stream to ask questions in Discord, so they can later watch the, like, VOD and get their answers that way. But we don't take questions live from Discord, like, we only take the ones that are present at the beginning of the stream. So, like, if you're posting more questions on Discord, those are not gonna get answered anymore. Post them in the Twitch chat. So Shadow X is asking, would current implementation of audio have support for putting real-time effects on specific sources outputs instead of specific listeners? If not, is that planned for the current development, pre-release, or will it move after MVP? So it kind of depends what do you mean exactly. If you want, because, like, there's, like, two ways to go about it. So say you have, like, an output, you have, like, a piece of audio that's playing, and then you have, like, you have, like, one listener, I'm just gonna do an ear, and you have, like, another listener. So one of the concepts that are introduced into audio is something called audio inlet, and it sort of says, and that's specified on the audio output, and for example says, you know, this goes into the effects inlet. So this goes into the effects. I'm gonna turn this around. You know, so this goes into the effects inlet, and then each listener specifies, you know, what mixers, what filters it uses for a particle inlet. And there can be also like, you know, no effects. I'm just gonna... Oh no, what is happening? Oh, that's not my headset, it's my headphones that are low. How are they low on battery? Why is everything having issues today? I might need to switch headphones in a bit. Anyway, so like, you know, there's like two inlets, and you can say, okay, I'm going into this one, and then each listener, you know, it can say for effects, you know, I'm gonna have reverb because I happen to be in a reverb zone, but this one is not in reverb zone, so even though there's like, it says like, you know, I don't have any effects for the effects inlet. So when this listener hears this, when this listener is hearing this effect, it's gonna have the reverb. If this listener is hearing it, it has no reverb because there's no reverb zone. Now, if this specifies I don't have any effects, then even though this one is in the reverb zone, it says, you know, if there's no effects, then the reverb zone is ignored, and this one's also ignored. So it has a system, and right now it's not exposed. Eventually this is going to be exposed, and you'll be able to manage, and you're going to say, you're going to be able to have more inlets, you're going to be, you know, able to just make your own, and then say, you know, this listener has this set of effects for this inlet. But another listener can have a different set of effects for the same inlet, or maybe even none. So that's like one approach, and this is going to be exposed at some point. There's still like, you know, things that need to be figured out. For MVP, I'm not planning to expose it because I'm not comfortable, like, you know, exposing something without like working through the implications and like long-term kind of compatibility and such. But that is a system that is supported internally in audio. The other way to go about it is that like whenever is plugged into this. So say like this can be, you know, directly from like an audio source, and it's just being plugged into this. You'll be able to insert effects in between. So you could like insert an effect here, and that way every listener is going to be affected by the effect no matter what inlet is. That's like, you know, applied specifically for the audio output, and that's specifically the audio DSP system. So once that is introduced, you'll be able to like, you know, chain effects, and like, you know, that's going to affect everything. So, you know, those are the two kind of things, and that's also like post MVP. The main thing for MVP is sort of making it have feature parity, because we don't want to delay the performance update, because every single extra feature we would add, you know, that can take add a lot of additional development time, and we don't want that to delay the performance update. So there's like some small things that like are quick enough that like, you know, they kind of are easy to sneak in, but a lot of these things, they're bigger projects, and we don't want to delay the performance update. Epic Distance asking, wait, where are we asking questions from? You're asking them from the Twitch, like we're answering the Twitch ones. I mean, you're literally asking the questions where are they being asked. Next question is from Snur. How will Resonite deal with threads like Teleroot in the future? Pretty much like the hard permission system is gonna deal with a lot of that.
Well, firstly, what is Tailroot?
Oh yeah.
Like for the people who don't know.
Oh yeah, it's like a thing that is like replicating itself in hierarchy. So like if it's in a world, it would place itself on your avatar, and if you saved your avatar, you know, it would save with it, and then it would like replicate to other avatars. And we actually added like a protection to prevent specifically that. So that's really not an issue, but like the more general solution is gonna be the hard permission. So it kind of depends, like if there's like another thing that's happening, we might have like a quick solution that deals with that specific problem. But a more long-term solution is hard permissions, which specifies, you know, what can modify a hierarchy, have things like, you know, the track, like where do things gonna come from, and if you save your avatar, you know, maybe like you see like these are the this is the list of changes. You know, like you have like, or maybe you don't allow somebody, like, you know, somebody's protoflex to like modify your avatar. So stuff like that will kind of help more generally.
It's like one of the first things that migrated, and we're like, well, I guess the protoflex conversion works.
Yes, it converts viruses. Well, it's not like
Uh,
virus, like in the traditional sense.
quote
Like it,
unquote virus.
yeah. Next question is from Ace on Twitch. When Resonite gets bigger and you guys get more business partners, would you guys ever worry if a business requests a feature that would go against Resonite's vision? We don't need to get bigger. We already worry about that. Like, there's actually conversations we had. There's like some requests that kind of go against, like, you know, Resonite's vision, and oftentimes it is like a balancing act. It's like, they're like, you know, this business partner is asking for lots of things. How do we reconcile that with where the platform's going? And there's already been like one big mistake that we did, like, which is like in part kind of communication thing, which was like, you know, the locomotion animation update, which kind of ended up like being a request that seemed like, you know, that it would like, if it wasn't fulfilled, that it would like this potentially like destroy a very critical partnership we have. But it came like, you know, at the wrong time, like when we really have like the right framework for it, and we had like a bunch of conversations, and like we made sure like, you know, that stuff like that doesn't happen again. And there have been few cases like, you know, where like some requests and we're like, this would lead to similar situations, we should avoid doing that. So this is a thing that already happens, we already kind of avoid like, you know, those kinds of situations. It is definitely like a thing. Because there's actually one more thing I want to mention is like, because businesses, they can make requests, and you know, sometimes we want to keep like those partnerships, so we find like a compromise. But there's been things that we straight up like said like, we're not gonna do this because it like went strongly against our vision. It went like even against morals and stuff. So there's cases like that, and it's like one of the things is, you know, sometimes we will, you know, say like, yeah, this is aligned enough, or maybe it doesn't affect like Resonite, so like we're gonna fulfill this request. And it's been mostly like Purple Prime has been fulfilling a lot of the business like side of things, and generally there have been things that are also like kind of useful for the community, maybe not as much to most people, but can also be useful. Some of them are very useful, like for example recently Purple Prime, one of the business clients, they needed to fix a lot of the errors in headlesses. So Purple Prime went through all of the libraries, fixed a lot of startup issues, added better like, you know, error logging and error reporting. And it's like, you know, and it's something that's beneficial for everyone. So, and it's been good because like, you know, we get paid for it, like we really can, you know, charge by the hour spent on it, but it helps everyone. And usually we try to steer things in that kind of direction. But also have been cases, you know, where we are like we're not doing that, you know, where there are certain things we said no to. Next question. That graph that you're showing at the time, I'm writing message, that for each country, this Resonite was pretty small, sorry. You'll have to watch it in the VOD. Oh, the question stream died. Yeah, there's a lot of questions. We might need to start speeding through these.
Jeepers, we should also add like we should have like a cutoff time near the end too, or something.
Yeah, it's depending how many questions there are, you know, you might not end up getting yours answered, so you have to bring it for the next one. So if that happens, I'm sorry. Plus today is like kind of weird, like lots of things having issues. Anyway, next question is from Rukio. For audio, is there any plan to be able to split audio into their low, medium, high pass? Not for audio, that's more like a DSP thing, so it'll be like a future thing. There's a system though, like that, like for the reverb zones, where you can now like, you know, create zones which apply filters. So we could potentially add like more filters, like, you know, high pass, low pass, and so on. But it kind of depends what you mean by that. Like, you know, we could, for example, make like a zone where you can only hear the low frequencies. For example, when you go underwater, everything sounds, you know, muffled. So that will be a possibility. We might not add much for MVP, because really, like, we don't want to like delay implement the performance update, but it is a possibility for the future. Epic Easton's asking, will users be able to host domains? We pretty much already answered it in the question, but yes, they will be able to. I mean, technically, what is a session right now? That's gonna be domain. It's like, it's sort of renaming that, so like you'll be able to host the domain. Next question is from Red Neko. They're asking question about the domain system to continue with what Helix is asking. Wouldn't there be able to be used for... Oh no, I'm getting battery low. Question about the domain system to continue with what Helix is asking. Would it in theory be able to use for, say, Stargate Network, where you can load arbitrary worlds dynamically so you can walk through portal and bam, you're in a different session? I don't know if it's like a specific domain thing. Like the world you host, it's gonna be a different, session. But like what you're asking, that's more like a mechanism to like, transport into a different session. Like, so it's kind of separate-ish from domains, but you should be able to do that. I mean, like, you'll be able to say, like, send user to a specific world. Oh, just like the... Is there still buffering? That question, it seems in the green now. Also, you don't need to re-ask your questions. We still have a list of them. Don't put questions in Discord now. How did... Bigistan, how did we get here?
I don't know. I just work here.
A node-based control binding system. So, like I mentioned, like the current binding system, the input system, it actually is node-based. It's a separate system for protoflags, and like what I would like to do is unify them. Next questions from Red Neko. Just in general, more devices types can be supported in game. Like I said, like we don't need to rework this. Like also, I'm gonna say if I'm answering a question, wait until I finish answering it before asking more things, because I don't know if you ask this, before or after. So like, in case you ask questions as I'm answering it, wait for the answer, because that way like we don't spend like time like answering things twice. But yeah, we don't need to rework the system to add more devices. We just need to add those devices. Epic Easton, when Froox engine is in its own process, still using Unity render, will Froox engine be running net 9? Yes, that's pretty much the point. That's the whole point of like running in its own process, so we can run it with .NET 9. And get like, the big performance boost from the faster runtime. So that's pretty much the main, that's the main reason, like, we're doing the split ending, so we can run it with net 9. Grande Case asking, could Molecule be used by plugin mod developers as isn't really tool only? No, it can be used by others. Like that's pretty much the whole point, and I think like the GitHub issue like should even mention that. I recommend like giving it a read. Grande K flop. I mostly mean medium-sized feature requests from GitHub that are too big for a quick implementation, but not big enough to high priority performance. Okay, I work. The kind of things which could be bundled together to be larger updates similar to splitting or virtual source switching. We generally don't bundle the smaller updates like that, but we might like work through a bunch of them. But like I said, like no decisions have been made yet. Like I usually focus on finishing a system, finish the system, and kind of look like what's the state of things, what needs to be worked on. So we'll see. Next question is from Janosch. In one of the past office hour streams, you mentioned that when net update rolls around, this will allow you to update a lot of library systems that Resonite uses under the hood, including new version of Beppu physics. Would this perhaps be motivation to implement improved physics-related things such as the rigid bodies? It's a prerequisite, but like it doesn't like before we work on rigid bodies, we do want to update Beppu physics to the latest version. That's gonna happen. First, we don't want to be integrating something that big against an older version. But also it doesn't mean, that like when we update the library, it doesn't mean we automatically work on rigid bodies now. We could, but the decision hasn't been made yet. That's something we'll decide later on. Next question. So you're saying we can have static like effect for speaker walkie-talkie? I mean, not with MVP probably. I don't super know the context of the question. Like you could like do that eventually, like once we have like effects and things, but not for MVP. Next question from Epic Easton. So instead of start session, will it be start domain? Don't know yet. It might just be start session, like the terminology is not 100% decided on. Next questions from the Redneco. I meant in a way where you can walk through one portal and just walk to the other, like actually just walk through it. Just like in the show where you put your arm through portal and it pops out the other, and full as wormholes the other sessions. So one thing that's not how Stargates work. the Stargate nerd in me is like, that's wrong. That's not how with Stargates, you put your hand through, but like in this sort of blank wall, because there's like a buffer, and what a Stargate does, it dematerializes you, and then sends the matter stream, and then you emerge. So like as you poke your hand through, like, your hand is still there, and it's only when like the entirety of you goes inside, you get dematerialized, you get sent over, and then you get rematerialized on the other end. So like when you stick your hand through the Stargate, your hand is not gonna be sticking on the other end. So that's not how Stargate works. But for the question itself, like if you wanted to do it more like a portal, that can be tricky, because like, you're essentially asking for like, the portal mechanics where you stick your hand through and it's on the other end, and it's actually quite complicated to achieve in a generic manner. So it might be possible with stencils, so maybe, but it is a tricky effect, and it depends on a lot of variables, so like I cannot really answer it like in a generic way. So give me a sec. We actually went through the questions pretty quick. I need to adjust my headphones because it's starting to give me a headache. Everything's kinda bad today. How much time? Wait, how much time do we have left? What time are we supposed to end?
We end at 6:30 p.m. Central. It's currently 5:46, so that means we have 45 minutes.
Okay, so there's still time for questions. Okay, so feel free to ask more questions. We kind of went through them pretty quick. I thought it was gonna take a little bit more time.
Honestly, I think we should like near like the last.
I'm also gonna drink some water. There we go.
Honestly, I think like near the last like 15 minutes of the stream, we should cut off questions if there are a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, like ask your questions now, because like it happens like a lot of the streams like where we get a lot of kind of complex questions right at the end and we don't have time to go into them. But now we still have time. So the next one is from Ace on Twitch 17. They're asking, with you guys going on and off with the UI design and data feeds, do you guys also plan on redesigning smaller pages like the exit screen, welcome screen when the users first start Resonite for the first time? So I would say like the exit screen, that's kind of low on priority list, because like, that's not preventing people. Like it'll probably get like touched at some point, but it's not like super high priority. The welcome screen, there's definitely higher priority. Because it affects, people's onboarding, their first experience, so we do want to make improvements for that. I don't know if we'll specifically be redesigning it. It would kind of help, like, knowing what are some issues with it. Like, so like if you feel like there's like a lot of issues, like I would suggest like making a GitHub report on it. It helps, like, know if a new user joins in, what are the things, they run into. Like, what are the frustrations? What are, like, frustrations, they encounter, because that kind of helps us, inform things. And usually based on, how many problems there are with something, we decide, can we just improve it incrementally, or does it need a redesign? So usually, that's a decision we make on our end, and depends, on the amount of issues and how flexible the current system is to work with. And for that, we sometimes need like good information and good feedback. the next question from Red Neko is, I don't know, that's how that works. Again, please, if you like reacting to something, please provide us context because, oh, okay. Oh, this is the target one. Next questions. Oh no, this is I'm concerned. Keb is asking, have you ever had a dream that you would why you once you could so much you could do anything?
Maybe, possibly.
Possibly. Oh no. Oh, the quest streaming really doesn't like the blue on this one. It's like unreadable. Triple helix.
Yeah, there we go.
It's like a mush. Triple helix is asking, what if someone is hosting a session physically next to yours on the grid and they stop hosting it? Does it just vanish? That would look kind of weird. And what happens to that grid space? I'm just hasn't been like super decided. I think there's probably gonna be like multiple mechanisms. So say, you know, you have a session that's embedded in another, one of the mechanisms the sessions will have is how they represent themselves, you know, to other sessions, you know, how do they look like? And they will probably have like, you know, some provisions of what happens when a session goes down. So my general approach would be to like make it very flexible. So say like, you know, you're hosting a session that's like a house, you know, it's you have a big world and there's a house and the house is another session. Maybe you make it like, you know, when the session goes down, the lights, you know, turn off on the like sort of outer shell. So you're not able to see what's inside, you're no longer able to go in, maybe the door is like, you know, now locked. Maybe the door will even say, you know, we are closed. So I'll probably want to make the system, you know, so you can have like a little bit of logic that says, you know, how does the visual change when the session is down. So probably something along the lines. If it's a grid, that's a little bit trickier. Like I would probably like, you know, leave it up to the creator, so you could like maybe add like a force field or something, or maybe something happens and it cannot go there. But the general approach for the system would to be not to prescribe what happens exactly, but, you know, provide you mechanisms, you know, to specify what do you want to happen, and kind of leave it up to the users. Rednico, Rednico's asking, what is your favorite niche feature of Resonite? Depends. I don't like if you classify the niche, but like one I like using are the facet anchors. And I don't know how many people know about these, so I don't know if you'd consider it niche or not.
Hmm.
I'm gonna give you a quick showcase. Well, where's my stream? Oh, it's behind me. My streaming dialog. There we go. Let me give you a quick showcase. I'm gonna run the private UI, and I'm gonna change it to smooth POV. So I have like, you know, facet anchors where I have like quick access to things, you know, like things I like use frequently. And you can just plug things from UI and put it in your hands and so on. So this is like a thing I really like using. I don't know if you consider it niche or no, but I guess that's my answer.
I think more people need to know about authority time base. Nobody knows about this component. It is super cool. It is like a synced, like world time synced, offsetable timer. So you can like write a value into it, and then it will start counting up or down depending on the speed, and it will retain its offset from T, so it is synced with T. And it's also a double, so it's really precise. It's super cool. Yeah. Look at the component, do it. Look at the component.
It's very useful.
You can also pull it out like a value in Protoflux, so that's cool too.
Yeah, those are the answers. Oh, there's like a bunch. You probably have to think a bit more to answer more. Next question is from BD_. I know there's been thought about custom Protoflux nodes, but have you considered ways to build custom components as well in the future? So for custom nodes, it's actually more than a thought. Protoflags internally already supports it. We just need to integrate it with Froox engine. So there's already like, groundwork laid for it. But for the question itself, for custom components, we actually talked about it on one of the previous streams. There's actually two ways. One of them would actually be through protoflags. So you would actually you define a custom node, and that node could be represented as a component. So you can attach it and do things. The other way would be with WebAssembly, where you also define a component, has like its inputs, and then like you define the logic of it. So those would be like the two ways to like, make custom components. Next questions from... Yeah, the compression doesn't like the bool names. Stormwolf is asking, how hard would it be to have sessions preloaded before focusing into it and having transition like what we have to for tutorial world? I mean, it's kind of not hard. The main issue is like you're still gonna feel the loading if you're in the previous world. Like, that's actually the problem is like, with like the tutorial world, it's actually loading while you're in the initial, parts, and it actually causes a lot of lag. It's just kind of like, most people don't notice it. But if you're in a world and you start loading another world, you're gonna feel the lag even though it's like, being loaded, because like there's some synchronization things that need to happen. There's like, some garbage collector pressure and other things. And what you want to do first is, just kind of reduce that, because if there's less lag, that like I feel it kind of like improves the whole issue like overall. At least, when you're like in the world and it's loading in, at least you know why you're lagging. So that kind of helps, but it's not that complicated, but like our focus is on improving the performance first. Next questions from Ultrawide Gamer. We talked a little bit about controllers, but in the future, are plans to have any way to emulate controllers with protoflags? So if, for example, someone wanted to have their keyboard presses mapped to index controllers, keyboard mapped to the grip on index. There would an input binding system. Like, so if we do end up like, reworking with like protoflags, you'd be able to do stuff like that, like, just where things get mapped. You can technically do it with the current system too. There's just no like UI to work with it. Next question is from Dusty Sprinkles. Dusty Sprinkles is asking, something I notice somewhat frequently is that users that haven't played Resonite believe it doesn't have desktop support. Do you think it might be worth making desktop so they can emphasize marketing to help dispel that? Yeah, it could. Like, maybe it could, like... Yeah, one of the things, actually, I think we should showcase is, that we have a lot of features, like third-person camera, free cam, like, lots of kind of cool things. The UI alignment, like, a lot of people don't know about the UI alignment mode, and it makes, things much easier, like, to work with. Like, inspectors and protoflags and so on. So yeah, we should probably, like, make more marketing stuff for that. And just general kind of talk about it, like, yeah, it has desktop mode. I feel it's gonna have a lot of features, like people just don't know they exist, or that Resonite can do certain things, and we need to talk about it more. Next question is from I'm Cyrus in desktop mode literally right now. Next question is from River the Links. How do you compare the process of setting up your avatar between Resonite and VRChat? Can you really do the whole setup inside Resonite instead of using Unity like for VRChat? Sorry, question is bad. I haven't spent too much time either since my own character is finished. So it depends a little bit on the avatar, but like pretty much every avatar in Resonite right now has been fully set up in Resonite. Like Cyrus' avatar has been set up inside my avatar has been set up, and what's really cool is we can like make modifications to it too. So like if I like it's not like with Resonite, the avatar setup is not like, once and done thing. You can like mess with things. So I can literally grab a tool, even for a like, setup avatar. I grab the developer tool from Resonite Essentials, and I can select myself and open an inspector for myself, and and now I can start messing with myself. Like, I don't actually know what to do. Pretty much have like, everything kind of accessible here, and I'll also like a blend shape I could mess up with. You know, you can change the materials, for example. So I could like, you know, let's see, I'm gonna pull out the material. So this is one of my materials. Which one's the body? This is the body material. So I pull this out, you know, and this is my materials. And I can just be like, I'm just gonna do something random. Just for the sake of showcase, and I can be, okay, I'll make myself I'll make myself red for some reason. So I'm red now. You know, you can mess with the textures. So like, you know, I can be like, oh, here's a texture. I'll pull out the texture, you know, and like say like I wanna like hue shift it. So there's a bunch of like, you know, processing options. So it can be like, actually I'm gonna invert green. So I'm gonna invert green. It's gonna process for a bit. This one's a big texture. Come on. Process.
Is it 4K?
It's 4K. Ah!
Whoa.
And now it's loading the new texture, and now I'm also kinda, well, this is more kinda pinkish. Oh, that's weird, like my face is like green. Or I can, you know, go, you know, you can add stuff to your avatar, like, you know, you wanna add an accessory. Let me just do a quick showcase. I'm just gonna pull a random object, say, where is it? I'm gonna get like, you know, I don't have like super fancy stuff like at hand, but like say like, you know, why is this not loading the material? Oh, that's weird. Hold on, maybe this one? Oh, it's not loading the material. What has happened? Let me grab something else. What did we grab? I could grab like an item. And there's also stuff that like you can like literally just attach that like has a system. Like, oh, this one's this one's funny. I like this one. There's like stuff, you know, like that like this has a system on it, so I can just attach it to my avatar. And now I'm like unicorn, and actually has a thing where I can press triggers and do this. Or I could like, you know, and I could save my avatar with this. Or I could like, you know, go and I can attach it to Syra. Now he's a unicorn, and now if you press mouse button, you should be able to do the unicorn thing. Ugh. And you can save your avatar, or if you don't have a thing that's already set up, you know, like I'm just gonna. I don't have anything cool that I could grab. You know what? I'm gonna make a thing. So say I just grab like a brush, you know, that I've been using to draw things, and I'm just gonna draw a thing. I'm gonna make like a little ring, and say I want this ring on my ear. I can open it up. Yeah, there we go. Open it up. And I find, actually I'm gonna close this. I'm just gonna open my head again. And I find my ear, there's my ear. And I grab this thing. Brush strokes, I'm gonna parent it under the ear, so now it should be part of the ear, and now I should still be able to grab it and position it. I usually kind of position it like when you're outside of the avatar, but yeah, because so you don't have to deal like, you know, with this. Wait, which ear? I put it on the right ear. Come on.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is why I usually jump out of the avatar, but I feel it's funnier this way. There we go. Put it there. And I got like an earring thing, you know. Still didn't position it right. Eh. Oh, whatever. Works. It works well enough for demonstration purposes. So yeah, like pretty much all of the avatar everything, you know, all the setup you do in game, and you can like, you know, keep modifying your avatar. You don't need to jump out. Like I can literally, you know, if I hit the save button, I save a new version of my avatar. and I have that avatar, and I can have as many copies I want, as many versions as I want. It makes it very cool because I feel like that's one of the key differences between VRShot and Resonite, where with VRShot we have to jump out, to make any changes to your avatar, and you jump out of the world. Versus in Resonite, you can be still hanging out with people. You can even have somebody helping with your avatar. Like I could be making modifications to Cyrus' avatar. Um, and I feel it encourages people to work on their avatars a lot more and kind of keep customizing and evolving them. If you're setting up avatar from scratch, that can be quite a process. So usually it's good to find a preset up base that way all of the legwork has been done and you just do your own customizations. If you find, for example, a Resonite package for your avatar, that's usually the easiest because you literally just drag and drop it, your avatar pops in, everything's kind of all the major stuff is set up, and you just do modifications to it. Maybe even comes with some little UI, so you can do some of the modifications using a simplified UI. So it'll depend a lot which specific avatar you're bringing, and if there's preset up version already available that you can base your things off. But essentially everything you can do completely in game. Right now we don't even have a tool that will let you do it externally. Eventually we will, we do want to have a SDK for Unity, but right now you do everything in game. And even if you use that tool in the future, say using Unity SDK, you can use it to do the bulk of setup, and you jump into the game, and all the other modifications you do in here, to keep improving your avatar and making changes to it and adding accessories and adding functionality too. For example, one of the things I added to my avatar is I have a death mode for a social deduction game that I play. And this death mode is triggered by that game. But I can also trigger it through my menu. So I hope that can answers the question. Next question is from Epikistan. Have you thought about making the tools not be hard-coded, as every single tool just being a raw data tool, and their in-game provided functions that we can call to perform various different functions, like inspecting and material grabbing? There's already a bunch of tools that are not hard-coded. So, it's not something we only thought about, it's something we already kind of do for some of the tools. The problem is, for some of the things, you cannot do them easily, or you cannot do them at all with perflugs, because there's no bindings and a lot of, complex things. But as we expose more and more things, we can make more and more tools be made purely in-game, or maybe just provide a general framework for the tool and have it be extensible. There's also ones that are mixed, for example, where we protoflex tool, which is node alignment. It combines the hard-coded parts of the tool with additional behaviors that are made in game. So there's already tools they're kind of either in the middle, or there's also tools that are for example this the DOM set snapping tool that's purely implemented in game. So there's already tools that work like that, but not all of them can be at this point, but we want to make it so more and more can be. We got 20 minutes left, so ask your questions now. It might be cutoff point soon. We'll see kind of how it goes, how complex the questions are, but if you ask your question too late, it might not get answered, or it might get a very rushed answer. The next question is also from Triple Helix. Almost forgot, I want to show you something. Could you try moving the stream menu thing really close to your face quick for a sec? I want you to see how difficult it is to read with a billboard effect. I'm confused. Billboard effects? I'm actually not sure what you're asking. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. Next question is from BD underscore. Are there any plans to update tutorial world soon? The content team, they're actually working on some updates. They're also making a facet for the dash, so that should kind of improve things. Next question is from the Big Eastern, but they're just going, huh? Like, messing with what? I'm sorry, I don't know the context of this, so you'll have to answer it separately. Next question is from Ace on Twitch 17. As Resonite gets bigger and there is a bigger diversity between minors and adults, do you guys ever plan on adding age verification system? This feels a little weird considering that as of right now it is on a gap of 2 years since there is no plan of making Resonite 13 plus for good question mark. I mean, well, there's two things. One, like, we would want to make eventually Resonite 13 plus. It takes a lot of work, especially legal parts. But like we do want to, like, lower it if possible, because that like, increases the potential user base. But yes, age verification is something we did talk about. We had like a bunch of conversation on the team. Like, we don't have a specific plan yet. It's something we are considering adding at some point. But like, there's no hard decision yet. Like, there's not like a specific decision on how exactly it would work. And which provider we would use. We would probably open an, like, once we kind of get like closer to it, we would like open an issue and kind of talk, with the community and be like, like, we're looking at these providers, how do you feel about these? How do you feel about this approach? So probably like open up a discussion, but probably not before, like, we're actually like getting to the phase where we're like, okay, now we're actually thinking about working on this like soon. Also the RTF doesn't work. Unfortunately, I can't do that. There's actually, that's all the questions we have right now, so if you've got like more questions, we still got like 20 minutes left. So the stream seems to be holding up at this bit rate.
That's good.
Veronico, hey Froox, can I boop you? I don't have a boop. I mean, you can boop me, I don't have a booper. I usually just do like this when people boop me.
I also don't have a booper.
Yeah. That way I decide like if something happens or no. But yeah. If you've got any more questions, feel free to ask. I would probably do like some kind of ramble, but like I'm a little bit too headache like now, like for rambles. There's well, there's like one thing that was like dealing with audio. There's like the last big system, which is the Doppler effect. And actually talked about it like the last stream, and I asked like Cyro to integrate from SoundPipe, which is the library like where we use the reverb from. It also has like a pitch shift effect. And I asked like Cyro to like integrate, that one, like, and make like a wrapper for it, so I could like use it for the Doppler, because I feel that's like a easiest way to kind of approach it right now, is just have it kind of pitch shift. It doesn't do like stretching and shortening, but that kind of makes it better, because for some things you literally don't have the audio, like when it's a user voice, you don't have audio data to be able to go further ahead. And sir, you sent me that voice message and it kind of made me laugh.
Yeah, I do have a, I found a version that's standalone that I can actually insert in between, like, my mic and the, and like Resonite. So I have it, I'm currently having it, I have it piped through right now. So I think this should work. So I think if I start doing this, is it doing it? There we go. Whoa, wow, it's so crazy. Wow.
Oh my god.
I can sound really high pitched, and I don't know what this sounds like. Actually, I have no idea what this sounds like. I also look at it in the bottom.
That is very high pitched. It sounds like you're at some kind of creature.
Oh.
Or an echo. Bro, Cyro has the Black Mesa Street voice. Yeah, it could be the announcer. Go really low.
No, I know. I know what they're I know what they're talking about. It's just a funny like there's like a funny series on YouTube,
Oh, it's
like
different.
parody or whatever.
I thought I mean like the announcer. Gordon, look, a rope.
We can use these to traverse big pits.
Oh my god. I wanna play Half-Life now.
Half-Life. Oh man, I want to play Half-Life.
There's also like more and more like rumors with Half-Life 3, and I'm like, apparently Half-Life 3 is like in public, like not public, it's in like testing now, and I'm like, I need it, but also like we'll see,
We'll see.
we'll see. So we got a question from Kaio Volps. I don't know if this was asked before, but do you unofficially support Linux through Proton? Or is it that you guys don't support Linux at all? We kind of support it through Proton, like, that's the way to play it. If there's like Proton-related issues, we kind of look into those. And not all of them we can really do much about, because some of them are like, Proton issues, so like Proton needs to kind of fix them up, but, yeah, that's kind of how we, support Linux right now. It's also important because, stuff like Steam Deck, and I use Steam Deck, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, we are in the last 15 minutes. I don't know if we want to cut off questions now or.
I mean, you can
cut
ask
off
questions
adding new
because,
one.
like, otherwise, like, we just, talk about random things. So, like, I'm fine, like,
Yeah.
answering questions, like, as long as, like, but, like, at this point, like, if you ask questions, especially if it's a longer one, it might not get answered because we'll run out of time. So,
Yeah.
ask them fast.
Yeah, it's a quick one.
The Nico is asking, ask Sarah if it has seen Sunkist lately. I can't find them.
Don't know what you're talking about. I don't know, man. I don't answer questions like that on stream.
Next question is from Nikki-kun. What format is being used for current shaders? Will this change? So depends, like, when we compile shaders or sources. We do have like, we essentially, like, it's wrapped around the Unity's format and actually uses Unity's asset bundles because that's the only way, like, to kind of load them. We do kind of keep, like, we pre-generate all the variants. So instead of like letting Unity do all the variants, we generate source files. We essentially like process all the possible combinations of conditional compilation for the flags, and then generate files, let Unity compile each one into an individual one, and we just load them and give them to Unity. This is a 100% change. It's one of the reasons we want to move to a custom rendering engine. So we have actually control, like, over how the shaders work. So we can make them, like, have long-term compatibility, and also so we can compile them at their runtime. So as you build shaders, you can see the changes immediately, because right now the only way to build the shaders we use is with Unity, and needs to be done ahead of time. You cannot be messing with them at time. And also, like, once they're kind of built, they're not designed for compatibility, so when we do switch rendering engine, we actually need to, like, rework all the shaders, like, re-implement them. Which is one of the reasons, like, we're so hesitant to add new shaders right now, because the more we add, the more we have to, like, literally remake for the new rendering engine. Next question. BD underscore, is it guaranteed that Proox field drive will run one last time before it's deactivated? For example, if I have a slot active field drive that's disabled, will it have chance to write false before being turned off? I don't actually know from the top of my head. Like, if you deactivate it, yeah, I don't know. Like, you have to test it. Like, I don't know where it kind of fits in the update list right now. Next question, Nuki-kun, is there a way I could see the code of shaders somewhere? Not right now. We're kind of considering opening those up, like, for a reference and maybe for some bug fixes, but we're also kind of a little bit concerned that people might want to, like, start making PRs for adding new shaders, which we would have to, like, say no to. We'll see. Nukikin's also asking, are shaders very Resonite specific? Are they from some common library? It depends on the shader. A lot of them are surface shaders, which are like relatively Unity standard things. Some are based on open source shaders. But like a lot of them are like modified as well. So it depends per shader, there's a bunch. So like that's not a single answer. Next question is from Ace on Twitch 17. Do you guys already have name ideas for future projects? I kind of thought a name of video encoder. When you guys switched to it, it called encoder. No, like usually the name is like one of the... Well, there's like some names for some things. I'm not gonna reveal them right now. So some things I actually know the names of. Some things, like the name kind of comes late and actually kind of blocks things a bit because I have like this mental block where until I name it, it's hard to start actually working on it, like actually implementing it. The next question is from Nukikun. Would there ever be a time I could throw your GL Vulkan shaders and request they be added? I have some great ones, things triprogram, texture terrain, parallax shadow, release full effects. Probably not. Like I said, like any shaders that we add, we will need to... Well, so there's actually two things. We will need to rework them, which, you know, adds more work. So like we're very, very, very hesitant to do that because we're essentially adding a lot more work for engine switch. The other part is like, you know, we don't use GL or Vulkan right now. So like we would have to rework the shaders you give us, you know, to the system we use right now. So that's even more kind of work. Oh, my head's... Oh no. My audio died. Oh wait, actually... Oh, it switched to the headset, so I don't know what my microphone... I cannot attach my microphone to my headset. Yeah, sorry. I can keep... Can I say something?
Meow.
Okay, I can sort of hear this kind of blah, but...
Meow.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn this a few minutes early too, because like today's just issues. And like this is gonna give me a like headache. And I'm really hungry. Got another questions from Rednecko. The one I'm really curious about, I kept hearing twin values eventually gonna be reworked due to how it works, what things are needed to be done before it can happen. So twin value is not gonna be reworked. What's gonna be reworked is the release mechanism for drives, so we can switch twin to use bug like driving the value, so it's kind of smoother. I think since there's like no more questions at this point, like I think I'm gonna end it here.
Yeah.
Sorry for today, it's been kind of blah, like the internet issues, hardware issues, it's kind of hurting my head a bit. So I feel like I haven't been like super good answering the questions either. Oh, where's one more? Okay, I feel like I asked this before, how efficient is Protoflex? Does it run on slot level or does it get compiled in some way? It does sort of compiled.
What is slot
efficiency?
level mean?
Efficiency depends a lot like what code you make with it. So like, you know, it's not like a single thing. Like it's relatively efficient, like could be more efficient. Depends a lot like what code you made with it.
Also, it is not compiled, Rednecko. It's quote unquote compiled into like
Acceleration
a
structures.
sequence. It's a sequence of like actions that happen, but it's not like compiled like in the traditional sense.
Yeah. It doesn't end up being like machine code. It's sort of like acceleration structures for it.
I also don't know what slot level means.
Yeah, I don't know what it means. Like it doesn't. It is a separate thing. It's a separate library. It does interact with the hierarchy at some points for specific nodes, but like it doesn't run at slot level. But I'm gonna end it here. So
Yeah.
thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. Why are people like asking all the questions now?
Yeah, we're like ending the stream, guys.
I'm just gonna say, like, we literally have a. There's also like I recommend watching our YouTube channel. There's a lot of videos, and we literally have video on WebAssembly. So like a lot of the things, like, we do have videos. So check those out. Like, you know, if you're interested in those topics. But yeah, thank you everyone, you know, for joining. Sorry for like all the issues today. I
Yeah.
hope like you enjoy like you know, thank you for like, you know, like watching stuff. Thank you for like supporting us. You know, doing cool things like on the Resonite. And like I guess we'll see you with the next one. Again, like I'm away from home, so like things might like be a bit frantic. Hopefully the internet issues are fixed by then, so like hopefully the next one goes smoother than this one.
Yeah.
But I hope like you enjoyed like the answers like still and like learn a bunch of new things. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you for Sarah for helping me with the questions, and we'll see you with the next one. Bye.
Bye bye.